Can we start now, Lavanya? We have to wait.
Some participants are still joining.
Only 70 are there now. 71.
They're joining, ma'am, still.
Okay.
Just 2 minutes, ma'am. Actually, one.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, Lavanya.
I welcome our beloved Associate Dean, Agriculture College, to the webinar from Department of Statistics and Computer Applications, Agriculture College, Tirupati. Madam, I request you to conduct the proceedings.
Okay, Lavanya.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, with immense pleasure, I invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. A. Vishnuvardhan Reddy Garu, to this webinar on statistical models for price forecasting in agriculture. I extend a warm welcome to our Dean of Agriculture, Dr. A. Pratap Kumar Reddy Garu, and University Head V. Srinivas Rao, Statistics and Computer Applications. And in the similar way, I extend warm welcome to the invited speaker of today's national webinar, Dr. R.K. Paul sir from IISRA. He is senior scientist from IISRA, great institution in the statistics. And in the same way, I congratulate the team of statistics and computer applications of Agricultural College Tirupati for organizing this national webinar, taking lot of efforts. They have taken they have very busy schedule of teaching. Here, both UG as well as PG courses, they have taken this initiative. Really, it is a very good initiative. I have to congratulate the team, organizing secretary, Dr. Umar, and Dr. Lavanya Kumari, this convener of the seminar, and Ramanamurthy is co-organizing secretary of Statistics and Computer Applications Department. Now, I invite the speaker of this today's national webinar, Dr. Ranjit Kumar Paul, sir. And I think in the next in the proceedings, we have to invite, I think, and present by brief biodata of our invited speaker, Dr. Ranjit Kumar Paul. And now I hand over the mic to, of course, just with a few remarks from my side on the national webinar, and what is the importance of this price forecasting as it is, why it is necessary for agricultural produce, especially in agriculture, this forecasting is necessary, because we know agriculture produce many times mostly perishable goods. We need forecasting so that farmers can plan the crops which they have to grow and which will be more profitable. In this context, these price forecasting system, these statistical models, especially depending on the data of different years, they may be using this data and come out with a reasonable price forecast, which will be more useful for the farmers as well as researchers also in planning, in making crop planning, as well as farmers to make more profit out of the produce which they get. In the same way, I congratulate again this team members. With these few remarks, I hand over the mic to convener and organizing secretary to go ahead with the national webinar.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you once again for giving me this.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your presence and motivation towards this national seminar. Before introducing our guest today, I can have a privilege to introduce or to invite and to greet our university head, who is behind us in each and every aspect, not only in academics but also in research and all other activities to run this department from SV Agriculture College Tirupati, who is nothing but Dr. V. Srinivas Rao Garu, and Professor and University Head, Department of Statistics and Computer Application, Acharya Engineering Agriculture University, and also an honorable member of Board of Management, Angru. Sir, I happy to invite you, sir. Because of you only, we have a lot of faith and a lot of progress in this department. Please, sir, and I request you to speak on a few remarks, opening remarks on this topic.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Lavanya, madam. And it is my privilege. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. A. Vishnuvardhan Reddy Garu, who is motivating all the scientists and teachers to conduct such kind of webinars. And I also thank our Dean of Agriculture, Dr. A. Pratap Kumar Reddy Garu, who is helping through NAHEP and all otherwise also he is helping and supporting the faculty of statistics. And on this occasion, I once again thank the Associate Dean of SV Agriculture College, R.P. Vasanthi Madam, who is giving fullest support to our Department of Statistics at Tirupati. I welcome all the fraternity of statistics and participants of this webinar. Really, it is a very much needed topic. Forecasting is very much essential. It is not only the price, everywhere forecasting is there. So without forecasting, we can't do any planning, or we can maybe we may not be ready for any thing to meet the requirement. So even the human being is also so curious about to know his future. So that's why people are going and attending for palmistry or astronomy, some other like that. And the business people, they are more about what is the stock market price or the gold price and etc. etc. So that's why forecasting is very much essential in nowadays. Dr. Ranjit Kumar Pal, who is an eminent scientist working at IASRI, I know him from several years, and we were there in several conferences, and even especially the Society of Statistics and Computer Applications. He is one of the executive member. So very much thankful to you, Dr. Ranjit Kumar Pal sir, for accepting our invitation from the Department of Statistics of Acharya Engineering Agriculture University. He is doing very good work, and today we have an opportunity to listen his expertise in the price forecasting. There are, as it is for the benefit of the participants, there are short-term forecast and long-term forecast, and starting from regression to the artificial neural network, there are many forecasting techniques are there. ARIMA models, artificial neural network, deep learning, and exponential smoothing, arch-gauge models, like that all depends on the data. So he is a very expert to running this model, and he's completed several projects also at IASRI by using in the forecasting division. Definitely this webinar, statistical modeling in price forecasting in agriculture. Dr. Pal sir, in our Acharya Engineering Agriculture University also, we have one center, that is AMIC, Agricultural Market Intelligence Center, which is working under the control of our DR, Director of Research. They are doing good work for price forecasting, and they are forecasting their price almost more than 85% accuracy. So by using these techniques, but really combined with R programming, because R is an open source program, and people are very few people know about the coding in R language. Definitely your webinar, that is a talk, definitely will help all the scientists to update their knowledge and to enter into the R language instead of there are other packages like SPSS, SAS, and some other. But really R is an open source program, and which is very much useful for all the scientists. So on this occasion, I once again congratulate the Department of Statistics people, the convener, Dr. P. Lavanya Kumari Madam, and the organizing secretary, Dr. Sheikh Nafiz Umar, who is very dynamic, and he is also doing good work in forecasting. He is good in R programming also. That's why we suggested to organize R programming only by using the forecasting techniques, and also Dr. Ramanamurthy, who is the co-organizing secretary, and all the staff members of statistics of Acharya Engineering Agriculture University, who are very keen to learn the updates to be ready with all latest techniques. So on this occasion, I once again thank you, the Madam, Dr. Vasanthi Madam, for giving me the opportunity. And with this, I conclude my remarks, and I can hand over the mic to Dr. Lavanya. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, your valuable remarks on this occasion. And for the information of dignitaries and the speaker and also participants, I can read out the distribution of participants as from the faculty. We have nearly 600 participants have been registered, sir, and 100 joined in Zoom link, and other are viewing in YouTube link. And among them, nearly 40% are from faculty, and 22% are PG students, and 21% from PhD students, and others are 17%, including nearly 10 states of India: Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, West Bengal, Gujarat, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and one participant from USA also. It became international webinar. I think he has joined or not, I am not sure. But out of this, from 34% are from Tamil Nadu and 21% from Andhra Pradesh. Likewise, the distribution is this, sir. This is the information for the participants. And now I request Dr. Nafiz Umar to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. R.K. Pal, to the August audience. Over to Nafiz Umar, sir.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam. So first of all, good afternoon to all. So before I take the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, please allow me to publicly express my gratitude to Dr. Ranjit Kumar Paul. He's a senior scientist at ICAR, ISRI. He was a visiting scientist at the Department of Economics, South Dakota State University, USA. He has published more than 150 research papers in national and international journals of repute. He is an elected fellow of National Academy of Agriculture Sciences, NAS. He is a recipient of NAS Young Scientist Award in Social Sciences, Young Scientist Award from Indian Society of Agricultural Statistics, Young Scientist Award from the Society for Applications of Statistics in Agriculture and Allied Sciences. So he has also received ICAR Lal Bahadur Shastri Outstanding Young Scientist Award in Social Sciences. So he has guided 4 MSc students in agriculture statistics and presently guiding 2 PhD students in the discipline of agriculture statistics. So once again, thank you, sir. So for accepting so this webinar invitation. Okay, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to R.K. Balji to proceed further.
Thank you, ma'am. Respected Vice Chancellor, sir, respected Dean, sir, respected Associate Dean, ma'am, the head of the department, Dr. Srinivasa Rao, sir, the Lavanya ma'am, convener of this webinar, Dr. Nafiz, sir, organizing secretary, and Dr. Ramanamurthy, sir, for the co-organizing secretary. I'm really pleased and honored to be here to share my experience in price forecasting with you all, the learned faculty members and the students and the scholars. I have planned like this that maybe up to 3 or 3:10 I will be presenting the background of the different models and what are the uses of this, and then after a few minutes discussion we'll be going to the R session for implementation of those models, how we can do that. So thank you once again, ma'am. So we'll just come into the presentation without wasting much time. So I'm sharing this slide. Am I allowed to share, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are allowed.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Is it visible, ma'am?
It is visible.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So, very good afternoon once again. And I came to know that there is a diverse group of the participants for this particular webinar. And keeping in mind that, so we'll be just ignoring the mathematical part. Mostly, I will try to ignore the complex mathematics and equations part, just to give you the concept and for which particular data set, for which pattern we need to call for which particular model or technique. On that part, we'll be trying to emphasizing much more. So the topic is statistical models for price forecasting in agriculture. And you know that how important is this particular technique. So irrespective of the sector, for example, if we run in business sector or industry, government or institutional building or planning, the forecasting plays a very crucial role. This forecast can be made in many different ways, and obviously the choice of the method depends on the purpose and importance of the forecast, as well as the cost of the alternative methods. So basically, every model, whatever we'll be discussing or whatever are being used in practical sense, all are data dependent based on the pattern existed in the data set. Based on our purpose, we choose the particular method, and at the same time, we need to look at what is the cost of the alternate method if we want to choose that. Now, the empirical analysis of the agricultural series, particularly the commodity prices, agricultural commodity prices, and more often the volatile agricultural commodity prices, particularly the perishable one. If we want to apply some kind of empirical analysis, they provide useful information which can be used to evaluate the performance of the empirical model, and also they can be used to make proper planning for the commodity under consideration. Now, when we actually talk about the time series forecasting, particularly in the agricultural domain, we all know that the linear time series model, which is the autoregressive integrated moving average model, or sometimes it is also known as the Box-Jenkins model, It has been a dominated time series analysis for the last several decades. But just like any other parametric technique in statistics, in any of the parametric technique, it depends on the several assumptions. So just like that, ARIMA is also based on some assumptions, and the assumptions are linearity and the homoscedastic error variances. But these two assumptions basically make it quite impossible to deal with the series having volatility or periods of instability, such as the perishable commodity like onion, potato, tomato, and other commodity which shows some kind of instability or volatility in the prices. So therefore, what happens? The volatility forecasting model comes into picture, and obviously it is an integral part of the commodity trading and price analysis. In the last few decades, much effort was devoted to develop the volatility forecasting model, and the initiation was by the notable work of Professor Engel in 1982 in the form of autoregressive conditional heteroscedastic model, which has been introduced to provide the better estimate of the variance and leading to ultimately better assessment of the risk. But every model is having some advantages and disadvantages. So in this ARCH model also, there was some problem, there are some drawbacks, and to overcome those drawbacks, the generalized form of ARCH model came into existence in 1986, proposed by Bollet-Slate. But in practical situation, we more often come across with those situations that it is not possible always to postulate the appropriate parametric form for the underlying phenomena. If we have two variables, if we can write down the exact functional form between the two variables, then you can call for the parametric method to estimate the relationship in terms of the coefficients or so, and we can interpret. But it is not always possible to do that. We may not be in a position to write down the exact functional relationship between two variables or between two set of variables. So in that case, we call for the non-parametric approaches. Now, among the non-parametric approaches, in the last few decades, machine learning techniques have drawn attention of the researchers. It's very widely applied nowadays, and these particular machine learning techniques have established themselves as serious contender to the classical statistical models in the forecasting community. Because what happens, every model, whether you are talking about the statistical models or machine learning techniques, they are data dependent, and how good we capture the pattern existed in the data set, that matters a lot in forecasting the future prices. Now, among the machine learning techniques, the neural network is the concept of this particular neural network was incepted more than half a century ago, but there was some a problem of lack of processing capability and the availability of the large number of data, which hinders the wide range of applications. Among the machine learning technique, we have the artificial neural network, we have generalized regression neural network, we have the random forest, we have support vector regression, we have gradient boosting machines like this. So many machine learning techniques and deep learning techniques have evolved over time, and they are widely used in capturing the more appropriate pattern existing in the data set, and which can gain in accuracy in forecasting. But all these models, whatever we have named now, all these are black box type of model, or they are data driven, as we have already told earlier. They are non-parametric, non-linear model, and they learn the stochastic dependency between the past and future value based on the historical data. So that's why to apply the machine learning or deep learning techniques in usual practical analysis, we need to have a large number of data in hand so that we can train the model properly. And once we can train the model properly, we can actually get the forecast and gain in forecast accuracy. Now, among the non-parametric technique, the recently developed a very powerful methodology is the wavelet analysis. I think some of you have already heard, or maybe might have used already. This is rapidly emerging in the recent years after the notable work of Percival and Walden in 2000. It has been applied quite a lot in the time series domain. These wavelets, they are used for various purposes in statistics, including we can use the wavelet analysis for denoising, we can use it for the non-parametric function estimation, we can use it for data compression and the process synthesis. Now, those who have already analyzed the time series data, or those who have come across in observing the time series data, they might be knowing that whenever we collect the data, time series observations, that every data is consists of a actual signal and the noise part. So every data, time series observations, is consisting of noise and the actual signal. It's very difficult to extract the actual signal from the noisy data. If we cannot extract the actual signal from the noisy data, and if you model only on the raw data, then we may be misinterpreted. We may mislead the interpretation. The wavelet analysis can help us in extracting the actual signal from the noisy data in terms of wavelet decomposition. And after we extract the actual signal from the noisy data, then we can apply different models, whether parametric or non-parametric, machine learning or deep learning, or combination of different models on the actual signal. It may help in gaining in forecast accuracy for the practical purposes. Before going to the different models which are generally used, and learn that when a particular model is called for application in a particular data to extract the pattern, we need to know that when we observe a time series data, it may have 4 components. The first component is the trend, which is nothing but the global increase or decrease in the data set. That is the trend. We may have the seasonality, but not all time series data will have seasonality, because only if we deal with monthly data or quarterly data or weekly data, then we can have seasonality. For yearly data, we may not observe, we cannot observe the seasonality. Seasonality means a series is influenced by the seasonal factor and recurs on a regular periodic basis. So particularly the agricultural prices, commodity prices, and to be more precise, the vegetable prices, perishable vegetables like onion, potato, tomato, they are all seasonal. In a particular month of a year, the price goes very high, and in a particular month, it goes very low. And this feature persists for year after year. So that's the seasonality. Third component is the cyclicity or cyclical component, when the data exhibit rises and falls that are not of a fixed period. So that's the cyclicity. Even here also, not all the data may show you the cyclical pattern. In general, we observe the cyclicity in climatic variables, maybe rainfall or temperature. We may observe the cyclicity. In price, it may not be that prominent cyclicity. And the last component is the irregular component, or that is the random part, which is unpredictable, and there is no pattern for this particular component. This is basically the error term or random part. Visually, we can see the broad cycles. These are the cyclicity or cyclical component. The seasonal part, the seasonal fluctuation, it's very much common for over the years. The cycle or the period of seasonal fluctuation will remain almost same over the years. That's the seasonality. And trend is obviously the global trend, global increase or decrease of the data set from the starting point to the end of the data. If we draw a straight line, so this will depict you the global trend of the data set. Now in the time series models, when we actually bifurcate or try to make the subset of different time series models, we have 2 broad categories. One is the parametric model and another is the non-parametric model. So just like in statistical methods, parametric method and non-parametric method, here also in case of the time series models, we have 2 options. One is called parametric models, another is the non-parametric models. In the parametric models, we have 2 things. One maybe linear models, another is the non-linear models. In the linear model, we know we have all heard about the ARIMA model, the Gaussian-Kitts model, autoregressive integrated moving average model, or we may have ARIMA X kind of model. We may have seasonal ARIMA model. We may have exponential smoothing. These are all coming under the broad category of the linear models. In the non-linear models or non-linear domain, we have the notable model of ARCH, that is autoregressive conditional heteroscedastic model, generalized autoregressive conditional heteroscedastic model. These are all non-linear models, and they are non-linear in variance particularly. And there are different extensions, several extensions of the GARCH family of model, like your exponential GARCH model, like power GARCH model, integer valued GARCH model, like this. So many extensions we can find out in the GARCH model. There are other non-linear models like bilinear model and so on. So these all come under the broad category of the non-linear parametric models. The second broad category is the non-parametric model. Here we will be discussing basically on the machine learning technique and the deep learning techniques. In the machine learning technique, there are artificial neural networks, support vector regression, random forest, gradient boosting machines, and in the deep learning, we know long short-term memory, that is LSTM. We have RNN, recurrent neural network, and this kind of models are there in the non-parametric category. To have a very brief glimpse about the different models and when to call for this particular model to be applied for analyzing our data set. So this is the ADIMA model, which is, I think, well known to every one of us. This is auto-regressive integrated moving average model, or sometimes it is known as Box-Jenkins model. There are two basic assumptions of this model. One is linearity. Obviously, if your data follows a linear pattern over the time period, then we call for the linear model. And the second assumption is stationarity. This is a statistical word, stationarity or econometric word. It means that up to second order statistics, if it is constant, then we say that the series is stationary. Obviously, this is for the weak stationarity. There are strong stationarity also. But in practical data analysis, we always look for the weak stationarity. If the data follows the assumptions of the weak stationarity, then we go ahead for fitting of this model. So stationarity means that up to second order statistics means mean, variance, and covariance. If it is constant, then we say that this particular data is stationary. But in most of the cases, maybe more than 95% cases, we don't see that the data follows stationarity. So in that case, we need to go for differencing or some kind of transformation in order to transform our non-stationary data to a stationary one, followed by application of the suitable model. So to visualize the stationarity and non-stationarity in this particular slide, you can see the left-hand plot. You can see this is a non-stationary data because the mean is increasing over the years or over the time point, and the variance is also not constant. You can see there is a sudden dip in the data in the left-hand side plot. There is a sudden dip which increases the variance in that particular zone. And whereas in compared to the other zones of this particular data, the variance is not that much. So mean and variance is not constant for this particular plot and indicating the non-stationarity of the data. Whereas in the right-hand side plot, you can see the mean is almost constant, which is almost zero. And the variance is also fluctuating with a constant, with a constant range. So in statistics, you know that we don't go by the exact sense, rather we go by approximate sense. If the stationarity is approximating or the variance is approximately constant, then we go ahead with the stationarity of this particular data. Otherwise also, it is not always possible to visualize the data and make inference about stationarity or non-stationarity, because if it is a clear cut, then you can make inference. But if it is not that clear cut, so visualizing a data and making inference about the stationarity and non-stationarity may not be possible always. So in that case, we have different statistical tests, including the augmented Dickey-Fuller test or Dickey-Fuller test. There is a Phillips-Perron test. There is a KPSS test. Several statistical tests are available. So you call for any of the statistical tests and you just ensure whether the data under consideration has become stationary or not. If it is not stationary, then go for differentiation or some kind of transformation so that it can transform to the stationary data, and then we can apply different models to that particular data set. So this is the form of the model, functional form of the model, and where phi L and theta L, phi L in the left hand side, this is autoregressive polynomial, theta L in the right hand side, this is the moving average polynomial, and D in the right hand side, you can see this is the order of differencing. So in ADIMA, there are three parameters, or PDQ, in the name of PDQ. P is for autoregressive lag, D for the differencing order, and Q for the moving average lag. So this is the general form of the ADIMA model. And this slide is most important from the modeling point of view. Either you are dealing with a simple regression model to a very complex nonlinear model. Everywhere you have to follow these steps of model building. If you are following a simple regression model, then also you have to follow these steps. And if you are dealing with a very complex nonlinear model, then also you need to follow these steps. So the 4 steps model building, obviously the 4th step is the forecasting. In every model, we may not aim for forecasting, particularly in the regression domain. In the regression modeling, we generally do not go for forecasting by using regression. Rather, in the regression, our aim is to explain the variability of the response variable in terms of the different factors, and to choose that which particular factor is most important in explaining the variability in the regression setup. But whenever we use time series data, our basic aim, our main aim is for forecasting. So here, 4-step model building starts with model identification. Model identification, by the name itself, you can guess that identification means you need to identify the important variables to take part in the model. For example, in the regression setup, you have a response variable and you have some regressor variables. So in model identification, what happens that we go for selecting the different regressor variables which will take part in the model building. That is model identification. For example, in the crop yield forecast in a regression domain, for example, if you want to forecast the crop yield, now crop yield is dependent on several factors. You may include the weather variables, you may include the fertilizer application, you may include the biometrical characteristics of the crop, the soil characteristics of the crop, and so many things which can govern the crop yield. But in practical, it is not always possible to include all those factors in building the crop yield forecast model. So there you need to identify the variables, you need to identify the suitable number of variables or important variables to take part in the model building. And those variable selections can be done by the variable selection process. In a regression, there is a forward selection, there is backward selection, there is stepwise regression, stepwise selection method for selecting the variables. So in that way, we select the variables in the regression domain. But in time series domain, particularly say for example, ADIMA linear model or nonlinear regression, nonlinear time series model, we go for selecting the different lags. So in time series, what happens? We have a YT to be more precise. YT means the price of a particular commodity at time point T. Now it depends on the past data. The present price depends on past price. This dependency structure, that is the lag structure, and we identify the different lags to be included in the model. So that is the model identification. In case of the ADIMA or in case of the time series model, the optimum number or the primary number of lags are selected based on two plots basically. One is called autocorrelation function plot, that is ACF. Second is partial autocorrelation plot, autocorrelation function plot, PCF and ACF. These are the two plots from where we temporarily or we primarily identify the order of the model or lags of autoregression and moving average order. So I think it's also well known to everyone that PACF, that is partial autocorrelation function, gives you identification of the autoregressive lag, and autocorrelation function, that is ACF, gives you identification of the moving average lag. So these are the two plots from where we can actually identify the lags of autoregressive order and moving average order, and accordingly we try to estimate. So once the model identification is done, and obviously if your data is non-stationary, then you go for differencing, and in that case your order of identification, order of differencing would be 1. So accordingly you also find out the order of differencing. Once we write down the model, once we identify the number of lags to be included in the model, then comes estimation, and estimation will be done by software. We hardly estimate the model manually, but there are different estimation techniques, particularly nonlinear least square estimation is there. So that estimation technique is used to estimate the unknown parameters of the model. And then we go for the third stage, that is the diagnostic checking, or we say it's validation. This is the most important step in the model building. Any of the model building, from a regression to very complex nonlinear model, the third step of model building, that is the diagnostic checking, is the most important one. So what it does basically, in the diagnostic checking, or we say it is validation of the model, when we write down the model, if you have seen earlier, the model, here there is a ET or epsilon T sometimes we write down. So that is the error term. Whenever we write down a model in a statistical model, either you write down a simple regression model like y equal to a plus bx plus epsilon. So in all statistical model, the last component would be the error term, and we always write down the assumptions of the error term like that error should follow IID normal with zero mean and a constant variance sigma square. IID, that is identically independently distributed with normal distribution with a zero mean and a constant variance sigma square. But the error term in any model is always unobserved. You cannot observe the error, right? Now, for a particular component or factor which is unobserved, which is not observable, on that factor, how do you fulfill the assumptions of the error term? We are writing down an error term in a model, and we are saying that this error should be IID normal with zero mean and a constant variance. But at the same time, these errors are unobserved. So it's not possible to fulfill or to validate the assumptions meant for the error term until and unless we feed the model. So in the third stage, what we do after we feed the model, we compute the residual. We compute the residual, which is nothing but the difference between actual and the prediction, which is nothing but the difference between actual and predicted or estimated. So this is the residual, and on these residuals, we validate the assumptions meant for the error term appears in the model. So now we check for the residuals, whether they are normally distributed, whether they are independent, whether they are having zero mean, whether they are having constant variance or not. All these things are validated in the third stage of model building, that is the diagnostic checking. And moreover this, we also validate the adequacy of the model here. That means whenever we try to fit a model, either a regression model or a very complex nonlinear model, whatever statistical model you are fitting for the data under consideration, in that particular model, before we analyze the data, we bifurcate the data into two parts. One is called testing set, one is called estimation set, and another is called the testing set. So estimation and testing, or estimation and validation. Sometimes we say training and testing, like this, two parts. So in general, 90% of the observation is kept for the training purpose and 10% is kept for the testing purpose. But it may depend on the variability present in the data. Sometimes for the machine learning technique, we go for 60-40 or 70-30 ratio kind of thing. But in general, in linear time series model, particularly for the ARIMA, we go for 90-10. So 90% of the observations will be kept for the estimation purpose, and remaining 10% will be 10% of the observations will be kept for the validation set. Now, based on the training set, we go for the first two, that is model identification, parameter estimation is done. And in the diagnostic checking, based on the estimations we got, we forecast the validation set. Now, for the validation set, we have the forecast coming out from our developed model. And at the same time, for the validation set, we have the actual data. So we now tally that how close our model is in capturing the pattern existed in the test data set. We compute some kind of measurement, statistical, some kind of statistics based on the error percentage, maybe mean absolute percentage error or mean square error or root mean square error kind of thing. And if we are satisfied that the percentage error is less than 5% or 10% or so, then we can go for the future forecasting. If we are not satisfied in the third stage, then again we have to go back to the first stage of the model building. That means in the third stage, if any of the assumptions of the error term is violated, for example, the residuals which we have obtained after fitting the model, if they are non-normal, then again we have to go back to the model identification stage. Sometimes there is something inadequacy in the model. We need to check that inadequacy. We need to fine tune the model. Maybe some insignificant parameters are there in the model. We need to fine tune it, and until and unless we are sure in the third stage that all the assumptions meant for the error term are validated and the percentage error is coming out within the range, within the threshold value, we cannot go ahead. So once we are done that, okay, everything is okay, everything is fulfilling the criteria, then we can go for the last stage, that is application and the forecasting. So this is in nutshell the development stages of different stages for the model. In more detail, so first of all, by identifying, we want to postulate a general class of the ARIMA model. So we identify the model which can be tentatively entertained. That means we just look for the SCF and BSCF plot and tentatively identify the orders of the model. And then we estimate the parameters of the model. In the third stage, we go for diagnostic checking, whether the model is adequate or not. If it is adequate, then go ahead for forecasting. If it is not adequate, then again go back to the first stage of identification and fine tune our model. So this is the flowchart of model building. Now, if really the data is linearly distributed, if really the data is linear, for example, in this particular data, this is the fish production data, inland fish production data, and the pattern is almost linear. And we fitted the ARIMA model, and how good the fit is, you can just visualize that how good the model is fitted in capturing the variation in the actual data set by the model which is developed. And this is ARIMA 1-to-1. Similarly, in a time series setup, just like a regression setup, you have a response variable. You may include several factors in explaining the variability in the response variable. For example, crop yield, we have talked about that crop yield. To describe crop yield, there are several factors you can including your weather variables, soil characteristics, biometrical characteristics, fertilizer application, and so many so forth. So all these variables can be included. Similarly, here in time series also, for example, if you want to compute the price forecast, now basic economic theory says that the price of a particular commodity depends on the arrival in the market. So if arrival is large, then the price may fall. If the arrival is very scared, then the price may go very high. So arrival may be one of the important exogenous variable you can include in the model in order to gain in forecast accuracy. So this is the model form will be ARIMA X type of model. That means ARIMA model including some exogenous variable. As many as exogenous variables you have, and if you think that those exogenous variables are related with your response variable, that is the price, then you can include those variables in the model and you can check for whether you are gaining in accuracy or not. For example, this is one of the application. This is a crop yield, and in case of the yield, rainfall and temperature, they are very important. So here only temperature we have included, and we have seen a significant gain in accuracy as compared to the simple ARIMA model when it was when there was no exogenous variable included in the model. So we could find that there is a significant gain if you include the important exogenous variables, which is very much related with the response variable, and it can gain in forecast accuracy. Another kind of linear model is the ARFIMA kind of model, which is a fractional integrated moving average model. This is also very commonly used. Mostly this is used when we deal with the daily data or weekly data. In a daily price data, you can see that if you just draw the autocorrelation function or partial autocorrelation function plot, you may observe that there is a dependency up to distant past. That means the autocorrelation function will be significant up to a large number of lags, or partial autocorrelation function will be significant up to a large number of lags. So this is called long memory kind of model. That means the present depends on the distant past. Present depends on distant past. On the other hand, ARIMA model, which we have just seen, that is a short-term memory model. ARIMA is called short-term memory. In general, up to 5. P and Q, we restrict ourselves up to 3 or 5. And we assume that the present depends up to 5 lags of the history, not beyond that. So that's why it is a short-term memory. But in case of the daily data, we have seen also that in case of the daily price, we may find the dependency exists for quite a long time, and those kind of data can be more appropriately modeled by using the long memory type of model, that is ARFIMA kind of model. So you can see how good the model can capture the variation in the daily prices. For example, here you can see this is the pigeon pea prices in Punjab, that is Amritsar and Bhatinda, 2 markets. You can see this is the fitted, the observed value are the dotted, and the line is the fitted one. This is used by using long-term memory, that is ARFIMA model. And the percentage error is also coming out very low, within a range of less than 5%. So if you are dealing with daily data or weekly data, you may look for the application of the long memory time series model. If you can see that the ACF and PACF has significant lags, up to a large number of lags, maybe say 30, 40, 50, 100 kind of thing, then you can look for the ARFIMA kind of model to capture more appropriately the pattern existed in the data in order to gain the accuracy. Another application here which we have done is the arhar price or retail price of the arhar in Haryana, where also daily price data is considered, and we can find that there is a long-term dependency in the price data, and accordingly this particular ARFIMA model has been fitted, and we really got a gain in accuracy in the forecast as compared to the other models. Similarly, just like ARIMA X kind of model, if you are dealing with the monthly data, seasonality may arise, particularly in the price data of the volatile commodity like onion, tomato, potato. We will be seeing in a practical by using the potato data in different markets. we'll be seeing that there is a clear seasonality in the data set, and if the seasonality is clear, and how to depict that seasonality and how to capture that seasonal pattern. So for that, the seasonal ARIMA model is applied, and this is the functional form. I'm just omitting this functional form just to show you that how the model could capture the seasonality present in the data set. This is the meat export data from India, and we could apply the seasonal ARIMA model, where you can see the seasonal ARIMA model order. So two set of parameters in the seasonal ARIMA model we observe. One is the non-seasonal part, that is simple PDQ, small PDQ, and that is the seasonal part, that is capital PDQ. So first set of parameter 210 here, you can see this is the non-seasonal part, simple ARIMA model, and second part, that is 110, that is the seasonal part. So two sets of parameters you can observe in the ARIMA model, and if there is a clear seasonality in the data set, then it is always better to go for the ARIMA model in order to capture the pattern as well as the seasonality present in the data set. Similarly, seasonality is also a very prominent feature in the climatic variable. In the rainfall particularly, it's very much seasonal. So in the rainfall and temperature, if you want to model, then this will be the best model in order to capture the seasonal fluctuation present in the data set. This is one of the example which we could find in the rainfall. Now, besides this, there are lots of other linear models, so you can actually explore, and there are different reference books also, where from we can get the different other linear models. But for this particular talk, we'll now go for the nonlinear models or the nonlinear domain. So before we actually go for the nonlinear models to be applied on our data, we need to ensure that the data is actually nonlinear. So it is not always possible to visualize the data and depict whether or pinpoint that whether this data is linear or nonlinear. It's really very difficult, and for that purpose we have statistical tests. So these two tests are most widely used for testing the nonlinearity present in the data. One is called BDS test, another is called MacLeod and Lee test for testing the nonlinearity in a data set. Now, so visually, whenever raw data comes in our hand, what is the practice? That when a raw data comes in our hand, we try to visualize the data by means of a scatter plot or by means of a line diagram, and we try to extract the feature existed in the data set in order to guess for the beginning model, so that we can at every advanced stages we can just fine tune our model to result more accurate model in terms of the gain in forecast accuracy. So after you just plot the data, if you see that there is a sudden jump in the data or the price, if you are dealing with the price data, and if you just draw a line plot, if you see that there is a sudden jump in the price and it persists for quite some time, then we can guess that the nonlinearity feature is present. Visually, if you want to just point out the nonlinearity, so you just draw a linear plot, a line plot. If you see that the price goes very high at a particular point of time and it stays there, it persists there for some time before it comes down to the normal. So this kind of feature basically indicates the presence of nonlinearity. But as I told that not always possible to visualize the data and infer about the linearity or nonlinearity of the data. So for that purpose, we have different tests available, and these are the two important tests which are widely used for testing the presence of nonlinearity. Now, among the nonlinear model, initially also we have talked about that ARIMA model is a linear model, but in most of the agricultural commodity price data, they do not follow the linear pattern over the time point, and rather they follow the nonlinearity pattern. And accordingly, the nonlinear model has to be called for in order to more appropriately approximate the feature existed or pattern existed in that particular data. Among the nonlinear models in the nonlinear domain, we have the notable work of Engel in 1982 in the form of Arch model, that is autoregressive conditional heteroscedastic model. And in the nonlinear model, we have two set of equations. First equation is for the mean equation and second equation is for the variance. In general, the variance is nonlinear and the mean is linear. So the mean equation may be your ARIMA model or AR model or MA model, and the residual coming out from that and square it, and you compute the variance equation. So that will be the nonlinear. So this is your arch. Similarly, this is the Garch model, which is simple generalized extension of the arch model. Not going into the details of mathematical foundation of this model. They are available in any of the textbook or research paper. If you are interested, you can just look at those. But our intention here is to give emphasis on the practicability or the applicability of this particular model to the real data set. So this is this particular fitted plot. This is a ARIMA fitted plot, and the data is the spices export from India. You can see that though the ARIMA model is quite a good fit, but the time epochs where the spices export goes high, for example, April 2002, April 2004, April 2006. These are the three observations you can see which lie apart from the fitted model. So that means though majority of the data is very close to the fitted model, but the wherever there was a fluctuation or wherever the price goes high, this ARIMA model could not capture that pattern. Okay, so but when we apply this Garch model, you can see the difference in fitted. Again, you just see this one. This is the ARIMA model fitting. That with this particular data set, we have fitted the suitable ARIMA model. 111 model has been fitted, and the fit is not that bad. Only thing is that the high values was not captured by this ARIMA model. And when we fitted this Garch model, you can see that it is also going through majority of the data. At the same time, simultaneously, it is also capturing the fluctuation present in the data set. So that's desirable. So these 3-4 observations, they are making the pattern non-linear in this data. Otherwise, if you delete these 3 observations, the remaining observations will form the linear model, and ARIMA model will be the best fit. No other model can beat this. But due to presence of this fluctuation in the data set or non-linearity in the data, the usual ARIMA model could not capture those fluctuations, and whereas the Garch model could able to capture those. So that's the difference. Similarly, here, this model we have also seen earlier, this fitted plot. This is a yield plot based on with an exogenous variable of temperature we have included, and this is the ARIMA X fit. This is a linear model. Though the fit is not that bad, but wherever there is a dip in the yield or there is a high yield obtained, that could not be captured. Now you see the difference when you fitted the Garch, ARIMA X Garch. You can see the pattern. Wherever there is a dip in the yield, the predicted value is also going to capture that dip. And whenever there is a high in the yield, the predicted model is also trying to capture that high yield. Okay, so this feature can only be captured by kind of nonlinear time series model. So this is the difference. And similarly, this is the export data of the onion price from India. You can see here, this is very much seasonal, as we told that agricultural commodity prices, particularly the onion, tomato, and potato, the perishable vegetables, they are more seasonal, and seasonality is very much clear here. So accordingly, we have fitted the ARIMA model, that is seasonal ARIMA model, but at the same time, there is a non-linearity present also, because you can see the seasonal fluctuation, and that fluctuation is not constant over the year. So sometimes the seasonal fluctuation is very high, sometimes it is very normal. So during 2013, you can see the fluctuation is so high that it actually results in the nonlinear pattern in this data set. So accordingly, seasonal ARIMA and Garch, particularly the exponential Garch, was fitted, and it could capture the pattern more approximately from this particular data. And also, the validation, during the validation of the model, we have talked about that we just compute different statistical measures in order to validate our model. So one of the measure is obviously the mean absolute percentage error, that is MAPE. And in onion, tomato, potato, or perishable vegetable prices, wherever there is a huge volatility present in the data, you cannot expect the error percentage in the lower side. Sometimes we get the error percentage more than 30% also. So here for these 3 markets, we have seen that the ARIMA, simple ARIMA model, which gives you the error percentage up to 30% error, where Garch, it reduces to 23%, and edema eGarch. For example, Kesopur, if you see this Kesopur second market, there is a very significant gain in forecast accuracy as compared to the edema. So edema is giving you 30% error, whereas edema Garch is giving you 27% error. And if you include that exponential Garch type of model, it reduces the error to the tune of 20%. So this is the gain in forecast accuracy. Okay. So this is about the Garch model. Now coming to the machine learning technique, the ANN, artificial neural network. This is the structure, schematic representation of the artificial neural network. We have some input variable, input lag. In case of the time series, we have the input variable in terms of the lagged values, yt minus 1, yt minus 2, like this. We have three layers in a neural network structure. First one is input layer, through which we just give input of the different lags. Then in the hidden layer, we have the activation function. In general, logistic or sigmoid activation functions are there, and appropriate bias is introduced, the weight is optimized, and then output we get. So this is the neural network structure. And mathematically, you can see that this is the way how neural network work. This is the example of a logistic function as an activation function in the hidden layer of the neural network. Similarly, other machine learning technique like support vector regression is there. So in the support vector regression, as it is also a non-parametric technique. So here this particular function is minimized to get the optimum weights and the vectors. Beyond this, so we have talked about the simple stochastic model, statistical model like edema. We have talked about edema X. We have talked about seasonal edema. We have also discussed the nonlinear time series model, statistical model like ARCH, GARCH, and different extensions, and machine learning technique like artificial neural network or support vector regression. There are others also, random forest, GBM, and all these things. Besides this, the combination algorithm or combination of the model or hybrid model, the algorithm, which is very widely used in the recent years. This is very much promising alternative kind of combination of the model. By combining different models, you can actually gain in forecast accuracy. So this is the hybrid model or combination of the model, which we'll also try to see in the practical. The initial work was by Zhang in 2001. He proposed this hybrid approach of combining different model, linear and nonlinear model. So basically, whenever a data comes in our hand, that data is consisting of two main parts. One is a linear part, another is a nonlinear part, right? If the whole data is linear, then there is no problem. So you do not have any nonlinear pattern, and you can call for the linear model, and appropriately you can just build up the linear time series model to forecast the data. But if the data consists of linear as well as nonlinear, which most of the vegetable price data consisting of. So we assume that our original data YT is consist of two parts. One is a linear part represented by capital LT, and another is a nonlinear part which is represented by capital NT. Okay, so these are the two parts in a data, but it is really difficult to extract the linear and nonlinear parts separately from the data without using the model. So how do we go ahead? Before that, obviously, there are some assumptions of every model. So here in this hybrid or combination methodology, the assumption is that the linear and nonlinear pattern of a time series can be separately modeled by different model. Okay, so whatever linear portion is there in that particular data, if we just apply a linear model, so that linear pattern could be captured. If there is a nonlinear pattern existing in the data, if we apply some kind of nonlinear model, then nonlinearity will be captured. So that's the assumption. Second is, I assume that the relationship between linear and nonlinear is additive. That means in the data set, linear and nonlinear, they are in the additive nature, and we can extract by using suitable model. Third is, it assumes that residual from the linear model will contain only the nonlinear pattern. So in the raw data, YT, if you fit an edema model, that is linear time series model, and if you compute the residuals, so in the residual, only the nonlinear pattern will be existing, no linear pattern, because linear pattern has already been captured by application of the edema model. So in that sense, it is the assumption that once a linear model is applied, so linear pattern will be captured, and whatever is remained in the residual, that will be due to the nonlinearity. Okay. So how do we go for implementation of this algorithm? First of all, we fit a linear time series model in the name of, say, ARIMA. So ARIMA is the best linear time series model. This is fitted. In the step 2, what happens? We just compute the residual ET. So once we have fitted the linear model, that is capital LT hat we got, that is the predicted value of the linear portion. YT is a raw data. So if I just take the difference from the actual and the linear prediction, that will be the residual. So ET is the residual. Step 2, we compute the residual. Step 3, we diagnose the residual. We apply the test, BDS test or MacLeod-Lee test to check for the presence of nonlinearity in the residuals. If there is a nonlinearity in the residuals, in the fourth step, we apply some nonlinear model like ARCH, GARCH or ANN or any other machine learning techniques to capture the nonlinearity present in the data set, and that nonlinearity is the capital NT. So that is forecasted. Now in the step 5, we just take the sum of the linear prediction and the nonlinear prediction, which will be the prediction for the original series. So YT hat will be LT hat plus NT hat. So this is the 5 steps algorithm for combining of the model. So in the first stage, we fit a linear model. The linear component is predicted. Compute the residual. In the residual, we check for the presence of nonlinearity by using some statistical test like BDS or MacLeod-Lee test. And if there is a significant presence of nonlinearity, then we apply the nonlinear model like ARCH, GARCH or ANN, and we predict the nonlinear pattern. So now at the end of the day, or at the end of the algorithm, we sum the linear pattern prediction and nonlinear pattern prediction, and that will be nothing but the prediction for the original series. So that's the combination of algorithm. So these combinations you can do like this, that actual series we are having, the linear component is extracted by ARIMA model. In the residuals, you apply the GARCH model, that is the nonlinear component, and you sum these two components to give the final forecast. This is one application. This application we have already applied. Similarly, in the ANN part, we have on the actual series, we fit the ARIMA model, try to capture the linear pattern existed in it. In the residuals, test for nonlinearity. If there is a nonlinearity present, you go for application of the ANN model or ANN technique and predict the nonlinear pattern. And then you sum the linear prediction and nonlinear prediction to get the prediction for the original series. So that's the nonlinear pattern. One of the application in the potato dataset, which we will be also seeing. So here, first of all, in the data, what we do, we bifurcate the data into 2 sets. One is estimation set and one is the validation set. These are the 2 statistics. There are other statistical measures also which can use to validate the model or adequacy of the model. And here you can see in this particular data, we have fitted ARIMA, we have fitted seasonal ARIMA, we have fitted ARIMA GARCH model, ARIMA ANN, ARIMA X and ARIMA X GARCH. So all these models you can see, all these models are improvement over the usual ARIMA model for this particular data set. And we can visualize a significant gain in forecast accuracy when we go from ARIMA to more advancement of the combination of the model. Now, the last component of our discussion is the wavelets, which is also a non-parametric technique. And though it is computationally difficult, but in the recent years, there are several R packages have been developed. Even I have also developed few of the R packages, and which has made our job easy to apply this kind of technique in our real data sets without knowing the mathematical foundation of this technique in detail. So in short, the wavelets are kind of decomposition technique. That means a data set is there and you make a different data set from a single data. For example, if we have a price data, 100 observations are there. At different level, we decompose this data set. As we go upper in the level, we get smoother and smoother series. So that will give us the trend of the data. And in the lower level, the more irregular part will be there. So if a data set is having some signal plus noise, first of all, we can extract the signal from the noisy data. Second, among the signal, there may be some high frequency signal, there may be some low frequency signal. So all those frequency signals we can bifurcate, and accordingly, we can fit the model, suitable model in each of the level. At the end of the day, we combine all the fittings by means of some algorithm that is called inverse wavelet transform, and we get the forecast. So in this, it is established in the literature that we may get a significant gain in forecast accuracy if there is lot of variation present in the data set. So how it works, we'll show you. For example, this is one algorithm. Original time series X. You can see that original time series is denoted by X. Now we go for the wavelet decomposition. For example, capital J is the level of decomposition. So these many series we can get. And in each of the series, the pattern is different. So by using the pattern existed in a particular sub-series, we can call for the particular model to be applied on this pattern. So on individual sub-series, we apply different models, and then we predict each of the sub-series. At the end of the day, all the sub-series prediction are combined, and we get the prediction for the original series. So all these are made in an algorithmic nature, and this is available in the R package also. You need not to do it manually. Only thing is that you need to know the basics of this, that when to apply this kind of technique. Similarly, the wavelet and ANN also can combine. You have wavelet, and two-way we can combine the wavelet decomposition and the ANN. In the left-hand side, you can see wavelet ANN hybrid model. So you just decompose the wavelet, the time series by using wavelet. You can get the different sub-series. On each of the sub-series, you just go on application of the ANN, predict each of the sub-series, and then at the end of the day, you combine all the sub-series to get the forecast of the original series. In the second part, right-hand side, you can see wavelet neural network, or we say this is wavelon. That means after decomposition, every decomposed series will be used as the input in the ANN, but in the ANN architecture, in the hidden layer, instead of usual activation function like sigmoid or logistic, we use the wavelet mother, that is mother wavelet, as the activation function. So that is the difference. Again, it is also available in the package, so you need not to worry about it. And then at the end of the day, go for forecasting. In more detail, you can see here, input data in the left-hand side, we are giving the input data to the component, okay? And then input data we have given. So we have decomposed the original time series and different sub-series we got, and all those sub-series are passed through the ANN structure to get the prediction for individual sub-series, and then by means of inverse wavelet transform, we integrate all these prediction and get the prediction for the original series. Okay. Similarly, in the wavelon, what we do like this, that original series is Y. Okay. Now, psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, psi lambda. These are the wavelon. Wavelon means the activation function in the artificial neural network. Instead of usual activation function like logistic or sigmoid, here wavelet is used as the activation function. So in that way, this is the named as wavelon, and remaining things will remain as such, just like ANN structure. We get the prediction for the output layer. This is applied for one of the data. I mean, this is onion data. You can see the clear seasonality for each of the series. The 6 series have been used, and seasonally adjusted series has been tested for presence of stationarity and non-stationarity. This is the wavelet decomposition. As you look on, you can see W1, the lowermost plot. This is the irregular plot. As you go on the level up, you will see the smooth and smooth plot. So V4 is the smoothest one, which is actually contributing towards the trend, and remaining plots below, they are the irregular parts. So each of the sub-series are having different characteristics. Not a particular model will be fitted to all the series, rather based on the pattern existed in each of the series, a suitable model will be called for and will be fitted. And at the end of the day, all these 5 models will be 5 predictions will be integrated, and we'll get the final prediction for the series under consideration. So accordingly, these W1, W2, these are the different sub-series, wavelet sub-series, 5 sub-series, for example, we got. And in each of the sub-series, we have just tested the pattern, and accordingly, we have fitted ARIMA, GARCH, or wherever it is applicable, and we got the prediction. So here you can see, we have ARIMA, we have ARIMA GARCH model, we have wavelet ANN, we have wavelet GARCH, we have wavelon. All these models have been fitted on the same data, and in all the cases, you can see, after you decompose the wavelet, the series using wavelet and followed by application of the different models has much more accuracy than the usual ARIMA or ARIMA GARCH model. You can see the highlighted portions we have learned, this is got much more accuracy in the forecasting. Similarly, in another data, this is tomato data, onion, potato, tomato. These are the most important perishable vegetable crops, and all these three data we have tried. So this is the last that tomato price data we have fitted. This is the simple characteristics of the data in terms of your summary statistics. You can see the last one, Shapiro Wilk test, which is indicating that none of the data is normal. That means all the data sets are non-normal. So if there is a non-normality in the data, it hinders you application of the parametric model like edema, GARDs, all these things until and unless you transform your data from the normal to non-normal to normal. So better in this situation, better to go for some non-parametric approaches like ANN or other non-parametric technique, including wavelets. So this is the kernel density estimate for all these three markets. You can see it is also showing you the positively skewed plot. That means deviating from the normality. That means no parametric method can be applied to this. Then again, stationarity and non-stationarity has been checked. And this is simple edema model, which we generally use. Now this is the plot by wavelet decomposition. So all this thing can be done by using simple R package. So for all the markets, this is wavelet decomposition. You can see the lowest, for example, Y in a particular plot. If you see, Y denotes the original series, W1 the first level decomposition series. You can see this is more random, unpredictable kind of thing. As you go up, W2, W3, V3 like this, so you are getting a more smoother and smoother series. And the topmost series is the smoothest one, which is basically the global trend of the data. And each of the series, sub-series is having the different pattern, different characteristics. So no uniform model can be fitted to all the series. Rather, individual series will be fitted with the different models. And lastly, at the end of this algorithm, we will just try to integrate all this fitting and get the fit for the original series. So for all the markets, these have been computed. And then the model is trained properly. That is most important. Whenever we try to fit the artificial neural network or particularly machine learning technique, even deep learning, then training of the model is very much crucial. So you have to train the model in order to get the optimization in the different parameter and hyperparameter in terms of iteration also. So in this slide, you can see HLN, this is the number of hidden layer. Okay. This is learning rate, LR is the learning rate, I is for the number of iteration, that after how many iterations we are optimizing it or we are getting the convergence. And lastly, MSE, on which basis we are looking for the convergence. So for different W1, W2, W3, these are the different sub-series for the wavelet decomposition. And for each of the sub-series, the different combination of the parameter and hyperparameters of the ANN model has been found. And accordingly, the training is completed. Okay. After training the model for all these three markets, we go for forecast and validation. You can see here, this is the validation that here we have applied edema, we have applied GARDs, we have applied ANN, even we have applied LSTM model, that is deep learning technique, along with the wavelet based decomposition followed by application of the ANN. So all this technique, and in the wavelet decomposition, there are several wavelet filters. For example, here we have used only 4, that HAR, D4, D6, and LAE. All these filters are there. By application of these filters, we decompose the series and followed by application of the ANN, and we compare the accuracy of this technique. You can see for all the series, wavelet based decomposition followed by application of ANN is having much accuracy than that of the usual edema, GARDs, or ANN, or even LSTM. So that actually shows the advantage of application of the advanced technique in forecasting the prices of the volatile commodity, so that at least even 1% gain we can get, we can achieve 1% gain in the forecast accuracy. That matters a lot because everything will be done by the software. Manually, we need not to do anything. Only thing is that we need to know that when to apply which particular technique, or when our data permits the applicability of the particular technique. So if we can just know that, then we can apply those techniques in here. And these are the different R software packages which beside this, there are lots of R software packages available. But during our research work, we have developed these R software packages. They are already available in the CRAN. So those who are interested to apply, say, wavelet-based kind of time series model, for them, we have 5 packages: wavelet ARIMA, wavelet ANN, wavelet GARS, wavelet SVR, and wavelet RN. So all these 5 packages we have already uploaded. And recent one, what we have uploaded is the LSTM, TS LSTM. It's really difficult to apply the deep learning technique using R, because as such, no ready-made package was available. So we tried to compile, tried to develop a package, namely TS LSTM, which is available in CRAN. All these packages are available. So if you want to apply a particular technique to a data under consideration, so you can just call for the particular function and you can apply this on your data set. To conclude, before we go for discussion, the Box-Jenkins ARIMA model is the most popular model, no doubt, for the forecasting linear time series case. But in many of the practical situations, when the assumptions of linearity is violating, then ARIMA model may not be able to capture the volatility present in the data set. In that case, we call for the nonlinear model like GARS family of model, and then hybrid model methodology, which is also a promising algorithm and which has been proven to be more accurate than that of the individual model, can be applied. And then the limitation of conventional statistical tools, that they cannot effectively forecast time series with non-normality, non-linearity, and highly chaotic in nature. So in that case, pre-processing is mandatory, and that pre-processing is done by using the wavelet in terms of decomposition. And then after decomposition is done, followed by application of the stochastic model or any of the machine learning or deep learning technique, we can apply on each of the decomposed series and combine them before we get the forecast for the original series. It is found that these combinations work better than that of the individual model. Okay, so yeah, I think the discussion part I am done, and these are the different references. So I will share this slide also. Those who are interested, they can take it, and a lot of references have been given here. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So if I have time, so you can just send me, sir, that
Yeah, sure.
it is very useful, sir. So
Sure, I will send this, and also whatever R code will be written
okay, sure, sir.
along with the data, so that the participants may try with this particular data and with their own data also. And if they face any difficulty, anytime and every time, you are welcome to write. I will be happy enough to answer.
Is very useful, sir, for who are working the same domain, forecasting domain, and prediction the models, the kind of whole time series things, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
madam, Lavanya madam. So
if any quick question is there, we can take up those questions and then we can go for the practical. Or if you want, if they want some break 2 minutes, then they can also. It's up to you, ma'am. I am ready for the next session also. There is no problem.
Okay. Now I request participants.
Yeah, Ranjit Kumar Pal sir, I have one small query.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, in ARIMA models, when we go for a long-term forecast,
Yes, sir.
it is giving a constant value.
Yes, yes. So that's why I was discussing somewhere that ARIMA is a short memory model. It is not a memory model. So up to 5 step ahead forecast, you can get good for the ARIMA, not beyond 5 step. So if you want a long-term forecast by using ARIMA model, so it is advisable that you get 5 step ahead forecast and then you use those forecast as actual value, again fit the model and go for the next 5 step ahead forecast. So like you guys, we gave 5 step ahead forecast and get the long-term forecast.
So for these 5 steps, it is going to give you different values?
Yes. So for example, you have the data, you just at once go, you get 5 step ahead forecast. That means 5 observation forecast you get. Then those 5 observations you again include in your actual data and run the model once again.
Yeah. Okay.
Go for the next 5 steps. So accordingly, compute the long-term forecast.
Correct. Thank you.
Sir, can I ask one query here?
Sure, ma'am. Please.
Sir, what is the optimum size of data points to consider for both non-parametric tests, parametric as well as non-parametric?
Yes, non-parametric means particularly machine learning. In the deep learning scenario, minimum 100 observation is required. For application of the deep learning model, for example, LSTM, RNN, CNN, these are the deep learning models. So for application of them, you need at least 100 observation. Similarly, in the machine learning technique also, like GBM, that is gradient boosting machine, this is also required for 100 observations. So for
ANN?
For ANN, 50 observation is enough. That means for linear, in general, thumb rule is in the linear model like ARIMA, 30 observation. For non-linear model like ARCH, GARCH, and ANN, random forest, SBR, 50 observation minimum. And deep learning, it is 100 and above. So we say that as much as observations you are having, that is the great thing to train your model properly. Because in the machine learning and deep learning, you have hyperparameters to be optimized. So those parameters can be optimized if you have sufficient number of observations.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, is there any specific criteria to fix the training and testing data as well as validation data?
No specific criteria. But in general, for writing the research paper, we generally opt for this k-fold cross validation kind of thing.
Okay.
That means we bifurcate 90-10 or 80-20, there is no problem. But not in one go, we go for the validation. Rather, we go for the 5-fold or 10-fold kind of validation.
Sir, I was suggested to go for training, testing as well as validation. Is it right, sir?
Yes. Sometimes we go for the 3 set, training, testing, and validation. Particularly in the machine learning technique, we go for that. But if you also restrict yourself in the 2 set, training and validation, and then you go for this rigorous validation kind of thing, like moving window forecast validation or k-fold cross validation, then you did not require the third set. Okay.
Yeah. And while modeling with weather variables and pest, for example, sir, for all these training and testing data will be picked up randomly, I think so.
Random, what?
Randomly, it will be picked up by randomness. Randomly, it will be picked 90% or 10%.
No, in the time series data, you cannot pick it randomly because in time series data, that ordering of the observation matters a lot. So in the regression setup, you can definitely go for random choosing, a splitting of the training and testing. But in time series data, because of the ordering of the data set, you cannot miss any observations in between. So first 90% observation for the training and remaining for the testing. That is the practice for the time series setup. Otherwise, the dependency structure will be going.
Yes, sir. In such a case, what is the validation rule, sir?
What is the validation?
If you are modeling weather with pest modeling, what is the criterion to consider validation?
Criteria is that is RMAC we generally consider or MAP. These are the 2 criteria. Okay. So we generally do not go by a single criteria because to compare the model, if you use more than one criteria, then that will actually justify the significance of choosing a particular model. So you go for different criteria, RMAC, MAE, MAP, MAC, MAE, different lots of criteria are there. And there at the end, there is a test called Diebold-Mariano test, DM test. So that is actually useful for pointing out the significant difference in predictive accuracy between 2 models. So that's also very much useful because by looking at the value of the MAP, for example, a model is giving you 10%, another model is giving you 8%. Now, whether this 10% and 8% they are significantly different or they are same, how to judge that? So that can be judged by that test, dm.test in R, or simply we see that that Diebold-Mariano test. That is for testing the predictive accuracy between 2 models.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
madam. Okay, sir. Sir, one of the participant asking.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Can we carry sensitivity analysis in ARIMA models? If yes, how?
Sensitivity analysis we do not generally carry for the linear time series model. Okay. But if you want, you can do it. There is a way in R. I'll just give you that particular code how to go for sensitivity analysis. In general, we go for we do this for classification setup. That means classifying a particular object in a particular group. So we go there. But in prediction in ARIMA, I have not seen in general, but that can be done. So if you want that R code, I will send it.
Okay, sir. So other question from Vishnu Sankar. So they're asking, can we go for any imputation techniques if we have missing points in the data, particularly on Corona year?
Exactly, you have to go for imputation because in time series model, if you have any missing observation, the model cannot be built up. Unlike regression, so that is the basic difference between regression and time series. In a regression data, if you have a missing observation, that whole observations you can just delete and you can run the regression model. But in a time series setup, if you have a missing impute that missing observation, we cannot fit the model. Because if you delete a in between observation, then total ordering of the data is broken. Continuity of the data is broken. So that is not desirable. Any of the imputation technique, in general, median is considered to be more robust than mean and other techniques. So median can be imputed. I mean, median can be replaced in the missing value. Or if you have lots of missing value in a particular over the time point, then starting from the missing value before that, if you have sufficient observation, all those observations can be used to build up a model. And then by using that model, you forecast those missing observations. So that is another imputation technique for imputing the missing observations, which appears for continuously long time. That can be done, and that is the user practice.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so should we go to R for some glimpse of this?
Okay.
Yeah. How much time we have, ma'am? Up to 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So around half an hour we are having. So in half an hour, I'll just show you that how the participants, that how the R can be used for a particular data. I will just work on a particular data and fitting different models and see that how the accuracy is we are achieving towards the accuracy. Okay. So again, I'm sharing the slides. So it's visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is a potato data from 5 markets: Agra, Bengaluru, Delhi, Mumbai, and Ahmedabad. From January 5, this is a monthly data from January 5 to I think December 21. So almost updated data. 204 observations are there for this data set. 5 markets are there. So univariate market we have to take care. We cannot take care of all the markets together. For individual market, the model will be developed. Okay, and this is the pattern existed in the data set. When you plot the data, we can see that for all the 5 markets, the variation in the prices over the months and years looks like this. So there is a seasonality. Obviously, potato data is a seasonal one. Mostly in August, September, the price goes high here. Or sometimes there is a little exception. For example, in 2020, it is June, July. From June onwards, the price hike was started. Okay, so this is the data set, and on this data we'll be working. So now I'll just open R. So this is R Studio. In fact, whether you are using R or R Studio, one or same thing. R Studio is better for visualization purpose. That's why I use R Studio. So this is the script where I'll be writing down the program. Below the script, there is a console where every line of the program will be executed and the output of the program will be displayed. In the third window, you can see here, upper right corner, there is the environment and history, all these things. That means whatever variable we are generating, whatever output data sets we are generating, all those will be displayed here. And the last window, that is lower corner below, this is the window where the plots and graphs will be generated, and the packages, whatever have been installed in this particular system, those packages can be viewed here. So assuming that you all know R and you are comfortable with it, so first step in R is the data import. You have to import the data first. So importing of the data, there are lots of ways to import the data. You can import the data as such in the Excel format. You can import the data in the CSV format or .txt format, whatever format you have data, you have saved the data. Accordingly, you have to call for the particular function to import the data. I prefer to save the data in CSV format, .csv, and that data has been saved in .csv format in my system. So I just call read.csv within bracket the data set, path of the data. I copy the path of the data and this I need to change in R because single slash is the escape slash which cannot be used, and then the data set name. The data set name is potato 5 markets updated. So whatever data set, and with this extension of course .csv. Okay, so this is the line of importing the data. Data equals to read.csv because I want to import the data in the CSV format. Then I gave the path of the data set wherever I have saved the data. Okay, then I run this. So this has been executed. There are some warning related to the graphics. You need not to worry about it. Then we just go for the attach statement to attach the data set. Now I have attached the data set. Okay, and then what we have to do is now we define the time series data. So I just put say I extract one particular data y, okay, and which is say time series data of data. Say second market I am choosing. There are 5 markets, Agra, Bengaluru, and all these things. Let us choose Bengaluru market or any market you can choose. So second market, that is Bengaluru. Then frequency I choose frequency equals to 12. This is monthly data, and start equals to 2005. So here in this statement, by calling the TS, that is time series, we are just making this data set as a monthly data starting from 2005 January, frequency 12, every year 12 observations of this particular data. So I have run this data, y is now run. Next I can plot it also, plot.ts within bracket y. So just to see that how it looks like, plot.ts. So this is the plot, it is generated. You can see 2005 to 2021. The data is plotted here and the variation in the data is clearly visible. Okay. Now, next step of this data analysis is you just divide the data set into 2 sets, training and testing. So I just name as train equals to say y. Y is the data, price data for the second market. So, okay, that's what I have named it. So y, and say first 19 total 2000, I think 204 observations are there. So last 12 observations, that is 1 year observations I kept for validation purpose. So first 192 observation for the test training. So accordingly, I just divide the data set into 2 sets, 193 to 204. Okay. So these are the training and testing set. Training set is first 192 observation and last 12 observation is for the validation set. That is for test. Okay. Now I build the simple ARIMA model first. So for that, first of all, you have to load the library forecast. That is to build up ARIMA model. Next, I name model underscore ARIMA, just the output name of the ARIMA model, which is equals to, I call the automatic model building process auto ARIMA, which helps us in ignoring the stationarity test and all these tests, because automatically it will do auto.arima. If you call for, then it will actually go for testing the stationarity, and if data is non-stationary, then it will go for differencing. Accordingly, it will find the differencing order. So auto.arima within bracket on the trained data set, I will feed the model. And if I just give trace equals to true, that means whatever different models tried for this ARIMA setup, all these will be displayed, and the best model will be chosen based on the information criteria. So there are lots of other arguments you can incorporate in this particular function, and in the help file it's very much available. So I am giving the only necessary arguments, that means the providing the data, trained data, and then trace equals to 2. It implies that whatever model, different ordered model will be tried, all these models will be listed. So I run it, sorry, auto.arima, auto.arima, A is missing, that's why it is. So now it's okay, auto.arima I have run, and you can see all the different types of models have been tried. ARIMA 212 with drift. With drift means constant, mean model. In ARIMA model, there is a constant. So with drift means constant. ARIMA 010, 110, 011, 010. Different ordered model have been tried. Okay. But one thing you can notice that the second parameter, that is 1, differencing parameter, it is fixed, because originally the series was non-stationary, and one differencing was required in order to make the non-stationary series to a stationary one. The other things like your AR parameter and MA parameter, these are changed. Different order they have tried, and based on the information criteria, the last column, this is the information criteria, AIC and BIC, all these things. So accordingly, the best model has been chosen as ARIMA 112, for which this information criteria value is the least one, 2580. Okay, so accordingly, best model is 112 model, and so ARIMA model is done. Now we go for the forecasting of the ARIMA model. So forecast underscore ARIMA I put. This is the model output, and I just put forecast within bracket the model output name, that is model ARIMA, and H equals to 12. H means number of step ahead you want the forecast. So 12 observations I have kept for the test data set, that is 193 to 204. So those 12 observations I am just getting the forecast. And if I compute the accuracy of the forecast, then I can make this accuracy statement, accuracy within bracket, the forecast underscore ARIMA, comma, test data. So validation set is the test set, which I have named, and you can see that different accuracy measured has been given. Okay, though the error percentage is quite high, you can see mean error, root mean square error, MAE, MP, MAC. All these criteria have been given, both the training as well as testing set. So accordingly, you have to look at the departments of the model. Okay, now once you feed the other models, then you can actually judge the criteria of these statistics for comparison and choosing the best model. Having done the linear ARIMA model, now you can go for computing the residual first. So let us assume that X is the residual, and I just put resid of model underscore ARIMA. So this gives me the residual, and which is stored in the X. Okay. So now we can go for testing the arch effect. That means nonlinearity, if any, present in the particular this residual or not. For that, what I require is I require 2 packages. One is for fitting of Garch model and testing of arch effect. Library F Garch, that is one library, F Garch, and another is library FinTS, Financial Time Series. So these 2 packages are required to be loaded. So I have loaded this package, and we have already extracted the residuals and stored in X. So now I go for arch test, that is ARCH test within bracket X, and I put say lags equals to 12, because this is a monthly data. So I put up to 12th lag, whether there is any arch effect or not. Okay, and I run it, and you can see that the null hypothesis is no arch effect. You can see arch LM test is called for in the console. The output is given. Arch LM test, null hypothesis is no arch effect. And what is the p-value? P-value is 0.001. That means null hypothesis is rejected. That means there is a significant arch effect. So nonlinearity is present, and therefore arch model or GARCH model has to be applied. This is ensured. So we have ensured that there is a presence of arch effect in the residual series coming out from the ARIMA model. Next, we fit the GARCH model. So we have ensured that there is a GARCH effect or arch effect, and we have to fit the GARCH model. So I fit GARCH model, GARCH fit. This is the function GARCH fit. Within bracket, you have to write down the formula. You have to write down the formula equals to first the mean model. Mean model maybe say 1 1 and plus your GARCH order. In general, it is 1 1 always. In very few cases, we just change it. Otherwise, it is 1 1. Data is on the trend data. We want in the trend data, and we also include dot mean equals to true. That means we want an intercept in the model also. So GARCH fit, this is the keyword or function for fitting the GARCH model. That is there in FGARCH package. In the formula, you just put the mean model, ARMA 1 1. GARCH model is the variance model. Data is the trend data. On the trend data, we are fitting the model. Include dot mean. It is true because we want an intercept in the model. So I run this model. There is some warning, but the model is run, and then you can get the summary of the GARCH model also. If I just put summary of GARCH, then you can see the different criteria has been given: AIC, BIC, SIC, all the information criteria. And if you scroll up, you can see the different parameter estimates have been given. We have given the AR1 and MA1 in the mean model. So AR1 parameter is 0.84, MA1 parameter is 0.289. Both these are significant. P-value is less than 0.05. And then in the variance equation, you can see omega is the constant. So whether constant is significant or not significant, we really don't bother. We bother about the coefficients only, alpha 1 and beta 1. They are the arch and GARCH parameter, and both are significant. P-value is less than 0.05, you can see. And one thing you need to check is that sum of these alpha and beta, that is sum of arch and GARCH parameter, they should be less than 1. So that is the requirement. The sum of GARCH and arch parameter, they should be less than 1. So here 0.28 and 0.67. They are less than 1. Sum of these two parameters is less than 1. So it is satisfying our criteria, and the parameters are significant also. So GARCH is fitted now. Next, what we do after fitting the GARCH, we just compute the forecast. So I compute forecast underscore GARCH, a variable I have created, forecast underscore GARCH, and I put predict within bracket GARCH, that is output variable name. N dot ahead is number of step ahead. We want the forecast, say 12. And if I want any plot, so I give plot equals to true. So predict is the function to forecast. GARCH is the output variable, output data set or output we got from the GARCH fitting. N dot ahead is how many observations you want to forecast. It is 12 because 12 observations have been kept in validation set. And plot equals to true if you want to include any plot. So along with the forecast plot, you are given with this particular forecast plot along with the the confidence level. Okay, this forecast plot has been generated and your forecast has also been generated. So this is forecast. Then we can go for some accuracy measurement. Before that, we just go for fitting of other models so that accurate we can compare those models simultaneously with respect to a particular criteria. Okay, so we'll just go for say neural network model. I put NN because neural network model is also there in the forecast package, where from we fit ARIMA model. So in the same package, you can by using the functionality, you can fit the neural network model also. NNETAR is the function for fitting the neural network model. within bracket, you give the trend data, because on the trend data, we want to fit the model. You can give the P, that is the lag, as 12. Different lags you need to try, and based on the information criteria, you need to check, you need to select that which one is the optimum. Then the size of the hidden layer, size equals to, say, I put 2. All these things you can vary, and you can actually end up the process based on some criteria. Repeat equal to repeats equals to, say, 20. That means kind of iterations you can give. So here you have run this neural network, and all this output model, output of this is saved in NN, simple NN. Then you go for forecast underscore, say, NN. The function is forecast itself, within bracket NN, that output of this neural network, and then H equals to 12, say. So forecast is obtained. Okay. So forecast NN is the forecast for neural network. Forecast GARCH is the forecast for GARCH model. Like this, several other models we have to get the forecast. So for example, I just I just load one library called ML metric for comparison of the forecast performance based on some criteria. Say, if I get the criteria of, say, RMSE, okay, in the ML metric package, in the R package, that is ML metric, you have the different criteria of the forecast comparison, like RMSE, MAE, MAP, all these things. So let us go for say, RMSE. I put RMSE underscore say, ARIMA equals to say, RMSE. This is the function. RMSE itself is the function, and we got forecast from ARIMA, okay, and test data. Similarly, I can get the RMSE for GARCH model and RMSE for the ANN. So I put here GARCH, RMSE GARCH, and RMSE ANN. Similarly, forecast here it is GARCH, and forecast here it is ANN. Okay. Now, for GARCH model, the forecast sorry, is the mean forecast. So once you actually write down this forecast underscore GARCH, after that you just give a dollar symbol. So you will be displaying with which particular variable you want to select. So it is the mean forecast. That means when you actually feed the GARCH model along with the point forecast, you also get the confidence interval, that is 95% confidence interval. So, but for testing the accuracy of the forecast, we want the mean forecast, that is the point forecast. So point forecast I need to select. Similarly, in the ANN also, if you just put a in the forecast ANN, here it is only the mean, basically. Forecast underscore ANN, this is ANN. So you just put a dollar, and you can see that these are the displayed thing, and you can get the mean. That means the point forecast. Okay. So all these three I can just run. Where is that test? RMSE, forecast ARIMA, forecast underscore ARIMA. We have already got it, I think. Forecast. So here you can see that how it is coming. This is for 800, and here it is 1076. So here ANN is not performing well, rather your GARCH model is performing good. Okay. So similarly, the other models we can fit, and we can get the criteria like MAE and other criteria like MAPE. There is mean error. Lots of criteria are there, and based on more than one criteria at least, we go for choosing the best model so that it justifies our claim. So beside this, as we have talked about this wavelet based, so library, these are our package only. Library within bracket, you can just put wavelet Arima say, and then your wavelet. Even you need not to remember these things, you just go to the particular package called wavelet Arima. Let me just see it. So you can see that there is a wavelet Arima package. Yeah, these are the different packages. So wavelet Arima, you just load it, and here from you just get the code copied from wavelet forecast, so that you need not to write down and need not to remember. So here wavelet forecast, wavelet fitting Arima. TS is your train data. So I just put train again equals to TS of train. That is already a TS, but again I have run train, and here also train I put. And then all these things will remain same. Number of forecast you want, instead of 5, it is 12. So 12 forecast you want, and you just run this. It must be a class of numeric. So TS equals to train, we have already got. Say AS dot numeric you put. Yeah. So whenever there is an error in R, it actually helps you in learning the code. So here it is said that X, whatever we have provided time series, it should be a numeric or TS or MTS or matrix or a data frame type. So what I did, I just put AS dot numeric. That means the train data, I have just transformed it in the numeric form, AS dot numeric. So it has helped me in running this code, and then I get the forecast. So here again, I put this RMSE. Okay, and then say wavelet forecast. Here it is wavelet forecast underscore Arima I put. So wavelet forecast underscore Arima. Again I run it, and then if I put a dollar symbol, wavelet forecast underscore Arima. If I put it, yeah, here you can see these are the forecasts. So final forecast is the forecast which I want here. So this is the final forecast, and then I change it as wavelet Arima kind of thing, and I run it and get that this is also not helping 1108. So Guards model is best fit till now for this particular data. Similarly, we go for the next model for wavelet ANN or wavelet random forest, and the fine tuning the ANN model, and ultimately we get that the ANN and wavelet ANN performs better for this particular data set. So the same thing I have written here in the other code, where the same thing we have done. Okay, and just to show you that how at one go how it is giving you the gain in forecast accuracy. So just I'm running it from here to the end for all the different models. Okay, at one go, and just like I was doing the things, similarly the program is written, and this I will share with you that at one go how to fit all these 6 types of model to a single data, and to choosing the best model based on some criteria. So it is still running because you can see there is a red dot here. So it will take time because all the models are running, and it will give you the output in terms of RMSE, MAP, and MAE. So based on all these three criteria, you can actually choose that which model performed better in this particular scenario for this market. So now it is done. And here second, that is Bengaluru market have been selected, and you can see, so this is for RMSE, this is for ARIMA, this is for GARDS, this is for ANN, this is for wavelet ANN, this is for wavelet ARIMA, this is for wavelet GARDS. Okay, so simple ARIMA RMSE is 1311. You can see in GARDS it is 800, ANN 636, wavelet ANN 506, wavelet ARIMA 1108, and wavelet GARDS 632. So even simple ANN model and GARDS model are better than your usual ARIMA model for this particular data, because this is a potato data and seasonal data, and the fluctuation is so huge that ARIMA model is not able to capture the fluctuation. So this is based on RMSE. If you scroll up, you can get the MAP, that is percentage error. In ARIMA, it is more than 100%. In GARDS, it is 55%, ANN 39%, wavelet ANN 27%, and wavelet GARDS 46. Similarly, MAE, if you go, the other criteria, here also you can see 1260, 675, 505, 348, 1058, 575. So all other 5 models are better than your usual ARIMA model for this particular data. And which is desirable also, because in this data set we have seen lots of non-linearity and fluctuation present in the data set along with the seasonality. So this way you can actually capture. And if you scroll up here in this, you can see the other output also. For example, GARDS output, if you can see here, this is the GARDS output, 0.67 and 0.28 arch and GARDS parameter. Okay, overall arch model, arch test also you can check for whether it is significant or not. Yes, it is p-value 0.001, which is highly significant. That means arch effect is there, nonlinearity is present, and accordingly GARDS model is fitted. So this is in nutshell that once the data comes in our hand, we try to play with that data by fitting the different models, because all the models are kind of black box, and there is no uniform model. There is no model which is universally true and can be applied uniformly across the data. It is not possible. All the models are data dependent. Based on the pattern existed in your data, you need to choose the particular model, and choosing the model obviously based on some criteria. And if you do not compare, then you cannot actually see the best model based on some criteria. So that's all. I think I could give you a glimpse of different models, and this code I'll be sharing in a minute or so with the organizer. So this can be shared with you all.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Thank you so much, sir,
Thank you, ma'am.
for a very clear roadmap to proceed with various models of forecasting,
Yes, ma'am.
both in theoretical way and practical manner. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Thank you very much. So I have the mail ID of Nafiz sir. So I will just share this slide and this code with the data to you, and I hope you can share with all others.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Ranjit Pal sir, on behalf of Acharya N.G. Ranga Agriculture University, once again I am very much thankful for your nice presentation and total forecasting covering all advanced models. So we are very much enlightened, and thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's my pleasure, sir. It's my pleasure, ma'am. You have given this opportunity to talk in this particular topic, which is my favorite topic. And I hope the participants have got a glimpse of this model. And if they are interested, they will definitely apply. And once they apply, they will definitely face some problem. So if they do not face problem, that means there is problem. So first time, whenever we try to fit, we obviously face some problem. And I am always here, so anybody and everybody can just communicate in mail so that I can solve.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sir, I request your future support.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
For Acharya Agriculture University, as well as the Department of Statistics and Computer Applications.
Thank you.
Now I request Dr. Sheikh Rafiz Umar to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Okay, madam. honorable dignitaries, the respected sirs and madams, and dear participants. Uh, Very good evening to one and all. And behalf of the Department of Statistics and Computer Applications and Organizing Committee, I feel immense pleasure to take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks at this national webinar on statistical models for price forecasting in agriculture. I sincerely express my gratitude and heartily thanks to Dr. A. Vishnuvardhan Reddy Garu, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Acharya Engineering Agriculture University, for his continuous encouragement in conducting webinars for the benefits of teachers and researchers, also students. I take this opportunity to specially express my deep regards to and gratitude to Dr. A. Pratap Reddy Garu, Dean of Agriculture, Acharya Engineering Agriculture University, for his encouragement and provided an opportunity to organize this national webinar to the Department of Statistics and Computer Applications, SV Agriculture College, Tirupati. I would like to thank IDP, that is a institutional development program for AGRU for necessary support in conducting this national webinar. Further, I would extend my gratitude and thanks to Dr. R.P. Vasanthi Madam, Associate Dean, SV Agriculture College, Tirupati. So, who is the guiding force behind the organizing this webinar with his able to guidance. I would like to express my sincere thanks to Dr. V. Srinivasarao Garu, Professor and University Head, Department of Statistics and Computer Applications, Agriculture College, Bapatla, and a Honorable Member of Board of Management, Acharya Engineering Agriculture University, for his opening remarks on this topic and his encouragement and suggestions when and then it is required. Further, especially, I would extend my gratitude and sincere thanks to Dr. Ranjit Kumar Pal sir, Senior Scientist, ICAR, ISRI, accepting the invitation. So today's a couple of topics on the statistical models for price forecasting in agriculture, as well as price forecasting models using our program, sir. Who gave more information, and particularly on so time series modeling. That is ANN models, arch, GARCH models, especially wavelet neural networks models, and everything, the analysis and the procedure methodology. In particularly, so in a test of normality, that's we are using VDA test and McLeod light test. So this kind of so few the functions and so few tools. And applications of forecasting techniques in agriculture sector in a simple and excellent manner, sir. Once again, I thank you. Simple code for R programming. So how to run? So in particular in AutoArima, sir. AutoArima, it is one of the best so automatic models, that is Arima models. I extremely thank to the convener of this webinar, Dr. P. Lavanya Kumar Madam, Assistant Professor and Head of the Department, and co-organizing secretary Dr. B. Ramanamurthy, Assistant Professor, Department of Statistics and Applications, SV Agriculture, Tirupati. So who worked with a team spirit to conduct this webinar. Our sincere thanks to teaching and non-teaching staff who are cooperated successfully conducted this webinar. My deep sense of appreciation, thanks to all the participants so who are attended this webinar and made it successful event, sir. My heartily thanks to the students so who are PhD and MSc, Mr. M. Uday Bhaskar, R. Shafia, and K. Gurucharan, and D. G. Tejus Reddy, Harish, and Minduhi, so and other students for their technical support and conduct this national webinar from the beginning to till end, sir. So once again, heartily thankful to each and everyone so to made a successful this event, this webinar, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants are requested to fill up feedback form before closing the session. And one more thing, still participants are asking for some queries. Please send all your queries to my mail and I can organize them and I'll send to the speaker so that we can get all queries to be answered from the speaker's side. Thank you for your patient listening. And thank you very much, sir, for your nice and very clear-cut explanation towards price forecasting or forecasting models, either non-linear and non-linear, and the non-parametric also. In future also, if we have any queries, please support us, sir.
Sure, ma'am, sure, ma'am. It will be my pleasure. Thank you, and namaskar.
Sir, thank you very much. Thank you.